Hey everyone, Sean Tierney here from Insights in Automation. I hope your summer's going well. Today is Friday, the 11th of July, and this is an episode of What's New. I'm going to try to cover it all here in today's episode. Got so much going on, and I wanted to share it all with you guys this morning. And so probably a lot of the stuff you have not seen yet. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into what's new. Here you can see the automationblog.com. And first thing I want to jump into is a great article that our freelance writer Brandon Cooper put together about migrating from the old E3 and E3 Pluses. And I just thought Brandon did a great job in this article. If you have any of those and you're going to migrate them, he talks about how you can simulate them. And he walks through it step by step, and he references some Rockwell Tech notes. So check that out if you're interested in migrating from them, or you just want to see what Brandon's up to. And then the next thing we had was an article, actually a podcast, and I'll talk about what's coming future. But if you missed it, podcast 240, I met up with Jackie from Siemens to learn how to actually commission VFDs inside a TIA portal. A lot of people, they're going to commission them from the front of the unit, but I thought this was very interesting because she walked through the steps and she showed us how different VFDs from Siemens commission. And she also showed us how to change it from Profinet to Ethernet IP if you're using one of those programmable controllers that uses Ethernet IP. So I thought that came out great. Of course, you can always catch the video and audio. This is sponsored, so there's no commercials. So thank you, Siemens. It pays for us to edit the videos, which is quite time consuming if you haven't done one before. But in any case, thank you to them. Everybody gets access to it, and it's totally commercial free. So check that out. The next one I wanted to share with you is another article from Brandon. And I had to shorten up the title to get it up there, but it's basically things he's learned since he's left his job as being an implant guy, just working on projects in plant, troubleshooting, supporting maintenance. And now he travels to different companies. And he's talking about, he's always gone, actually I met him at trade shows, but he's always gone to trade shows and done other things like that. But doing it full time is different than just doing it part time. And so he wrote an article talking about, and this is the first in a series, about, the things that, he didn't really think about too much before, when he was just going here and there once in a while, to doing it all the time. And I thought it was very interesting. And I do agree with the TSA pre-check. Just sometimes I go to the airport and they're not fully staffed, which is a shame because you're paying for them to get you on early. But in any case, hopefully TSA works that out. But I thought that was very interesting too. And you wouldn't have seen that here on the video platforms because it's an article. From there, I want to go over to this article, which is actually sponsored. So it helped offset our server costs for the month of July. And I preview all of these, right? We just don't take anything. It has to be valuable. And I really enjoyed this article. It's the top 5 features to look for in a reliable automated depalletizer. Now, depalletizers, I always just like watching them, right? Palletizers and depalletizers, because there's so much motion going on. And, most of the ones I've seen haven't been the robotic arm pick and place type. They've been the type where you shuffle, you slide packages onto the conveyor one layer at a time. But in any case, what they talk about here is what makes, what to look for in a depalletizer, right? Container compatibility, processing speed, upfront and long-term costs, ease of use, physical footprint, and then they go through some of the best depalletizer companies out there. And if you guys can check out ScarFab, they're actually the people who sponsored this. So if you enjoy our content and you enjoy this article at theautomationblog.com, please click on that link. It's just a standard link. But it would be nice to drive some traffic to their website from my website just to say thanks. We don't charge a lot for a sponsored article, but it's really nice, especially a quality article like this that, it's not just a sales pitch. It's actually a good article. And so I really appreciate, I think it was Megan who wrote this as well. She was really nice to work with. And appreciate them sponsoring content so we can cover our server costs, which are substantial. Now, you might be asking, well, what about advertising? Shouldn't the ads on the site sponsor it? You'll see we don't have a lot of ads because in the best month, they wouldn't produce as much money as a single sponsored article. So there's just, in our industry, there's not a lot of people like, the big consumer product goods people aren't, pitching to you when you're reading about automation. So in any case, from there, we have, I want to talk about what's coming up And we had our very first, let me go back full screen here. We had our very first vendor come in to do a show with me here in person instead of doing it over the internet, which I think is fun. That's one of the reasons it's actually a huge expense having an office, but I did that so I could have people come in. And I just had a blast. It's actually edited and it's now in their hands. They have to preview it to see if they want to put any graphics over it. But I thought Mike from Wheeland did such a great job, telling us about their safety PLC, which I think they do PLE, which you hear a lot of people only go up to PLD. So in any case, let me show you. This is just a screen grab from the appearance when I'm in the middle of waving my hands and doing the introduction. But I did want to show it off to you guys. And so this is what it looks like. And you can see me there. That's in the middle of the intro. And you can see Mike there. And he goes through all of that stuff, the safety PLC. He goes through the HMI, the different safety devices he has there, including the light curtains. And I really enjoyed it. I saw all this stuff really for the first time when it came out. So, and I try to ask questions like that. But these things support, I think on board it has Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, and Profinet. So all on board. There are option cards if you're using something else. But in any case, very interesting, intuitive to use, drag and drop. I think you guys are going to like that. Again, I don't have a date when that's coming out, but that I just wanted to show you a behind the scenes picture of that. Really appreciate Wheelan and Mike for coming out. As you can imagine, you're talking, that's a couple days worth of work to put something like that together, and they are sponsoring it so we can bring it to you completely ad-free and actually pay our bills, right? So really appreciate them. And we want to have more vendors come out. I love meeting up with like Jackie over the internets and doing those type of podcasts. But man, we got the space. Let's have more vendors out here to show us their stuff. And again, this is basically garage level equipment. Just because we don't have a $1 million grant to build a studio, but I think it works okay. What do you guys think? You let me know. Let me know in the comments. What else do we got going on here? Let me go back to the main screen all right. So let me go back to the full screen here. So I'm going to look over here on my cheat note here. There's some other things that are coming up that I'm really excited about. So we've been talking to Schneider. They've been great, as you know. They've sponsored 6 or 7 episodes of the Automation Podcast where they've come on and talked about their products. Those shows have done very well because a lot of Schneider fans out there and users out there, just like we have a lot of Rockwell and Siemens fans out there as well. And now I'm in all these products. Whenever I mention a vendor, I feel like I gotta mention them all. But in any case, we get some new equipment coming in from them, and maybe we may even get some equipment that nobody else in the USA on YouTube or the automationblog.com or a blog like ours has actually got their hands on. So we're excited about that. May even have some sponsored content coming out of that, which I'm excited about. May even have them come back on the podcast to talk about some of this new stuff. So I'm pretty excited about that. We also have Metla Toledo is sending us, last time I checked, they want to ship us one of their trade show demos to have us take a look at some really cool stuff they can do with the products that we've had on, like the IND 360. We had them on to talk about. So I'm excited about doing that. We also have asked Siemens to send us in a redundant pair of Ethernet PLC so we can cover redundancy in their platform. I'm really, really knowledgeable about Rockwell's redundancy up until like the latest rev, because I haven't looked into it since the latest rev, except from interviewing the guys from Rockwell on the podcast. But I'd like to understand Siemens redundancy more, not only because I'd like to understand it, but Metla Toledo also has stuff that supports Siemens redundancy. But in any case, to kind of gear up for that, next week I'm recording with the people who manage Profinet, right? I'm recording a show with them to go over the S2 redundancy part of Profinet and what that all means. To me, it's just wording, right? So they graciously agreed to come back on the show. You may remember we had them on about 4 years ago, and it's a Profi International, or PI, Profinet, Profibus International. They're the guys who do IO-Link, locks, and I think it's the modular type packages, MTP. So they do a lot of stuff that even if you don't use Siemens, you probably work with. So in any case, it'll be great to have them coming on. That's scheduled. We also recorded a great podcast with Emerson, I believe, Just a great show. It's actually an application. So it's all a bunch of their products put together as an application solution. And it's so interesting. I think you guys love that. That probably will come out next week. And then I'm thinking in 2 weeks after that, we'll have the ISA episode, which I've recorded, released. And it really summarizes their annual cybersecurity or cyber summit that they hold every year over in Europe. And we have the incoming president. We've been so fortunate to have so many ISA presidents come on the show. But we have the incoming president coming on to talk to us about that. And I'm also in the talks with some other great companies, inductive automation, software toolbox, a bunch of people who are involved in AI and manufacturing. So we don't have those all scheduled yet, but I'm excited to have them people on. And so just to let you know, we're actually on a every other week basis with the podcast. It was just too grueling for me to try to recruit people to come on the podcast and try to do the automation school at the same time. So until we get a big backlog or queue of episodes, we're going to stay on that every other week. And I know it's like, so, we get half the amount of views because we publish half the amount of videos, but it's a financing thing. So there's only so much you can do in a day, right? And so that a lot of exciting things coming for the channel, for the site. And so I really wanted to share that with you. And now I actually have something I want to flip into, and this is all about the Automation Museum. So for an Automation Museum update, we're about and I don't talk about this a lot, I should talk about this more, but we're at about 7% of our goal, which is great because we started at 0, as you might have remember. And so I just want to thank some of these people you may recognize from over on LinkedIn. Larry, I want to thank Larry for his donation, Ryan for his donation, Lassie and Brandon, thank you all for supporting it. I'm at the bottom of the list too. I was the first because I launched it. I supported it first. I also donated the automationmuseum.org, which takes you here, and the automationmuseum.com as well to the site. That was about $35 to get those two set up. And what this is, what the fundraising goal is, the tier 1, the $3,000. This is just to get the nonprofit set up and the website set up. So I'm not going to build the website. I spent all my time building the automation school and blog and managing that. I would like someday I'm going to outsource that as well. But I just want somebody to build a basic website we can build on, and we need that. I think it's a 501(c), so we can accept donations and actually make them nonprofit, so they're tax deductible, right? So in any case, I wanted to share that with you. So 7% of our goal, that's great. And last time when I was talking about the Automation Museum, I was talking about the PLC-5. So today, and thanks for Ryan, who is our top donor so far, he mentioned something called the 1750 PMC from Rockwell Automation. Now, if you don't know, that's one of Rockwell's earliest PLCs they have ever made. I don't know much about it. Matter of fact, I didn't get into this industry until 1990. So the old stuff then were PLC2s, PLC3s, 1333s, 1335s. That was kind of like the legacy stuff. And the new stuff was the PLC5 and the SLC 500 just coming out at that time, and a few years later the Micrologic. So so in any case, that's kind of when I started. So I didn't get to work on any of the original early 70s stuff, right? So I was just a baby in the early 70s, or a toddler. But in any case, let me bring you back to here, and let's take a look. Now, the first official PLC, I wrote a nice article about, well, I shouldn't say I wrote a nice article. I wrote an article about this over at the Automation blog. You determine if it's nice or not. But in any case, I had the opportunity in my previous role of 25 years being a certified automation specialist for a Rockwell distributor. I had the opportunity to scan in a bunch of those early documents, right? So, and if anybody's thrown away all their old early documents, send them to me, throw them my way. But we'll take them in a donation and then hand them over to the automation school. But I'm sorry, to the Automation Museum, where all that old stuff will go. I do have, I don't know, a storage unit full of stuff I want to donate. It's like all kinds of old books and manuals and brochures. But anything prior to that goes back too far. And I know one of my libraries at one of my former employers got tossed, and I just didn't reach out soon enough to ask them to donate it to the museum. But in any case, I did get to scan in some of the very first PLC brochures. that's in that big blue binder that some of you distributors may remember. And if you guys have that and you're thinking to throw it away, send it our way. We'll preserve it in the school. Just think of, I keep saying the school, the museum. Just think of all the things we could display. But in any case, this article talks about the PDQ-2. And you may be like, Sean, PDQ-2, does that mean there was a PDQ-1? Yes, but Rockwell was only an investor in 3i with the PDQ-1. They didn't fully own 3i until the PDQ-2 came out. And you can even see, I even include here some of the designed and manufactured by 3i, serviced and sold by Allen Bradley. So even at this time in 1970, they still had that. They still didn't wholly own 3i. They did. I think they bought them in 71. But in any case, so this is not what Ryan was talking about. This is the first one. This one had some downsides. It was still super interesting. If you want to know more about it, check up here. But this was the first Allen Bradley product that used an XIC and an XIO. And, some people say, well, Rockwell should use the standard, the IEEE 61131-3 standard. And it's like, why? The standard came out so far later than their PLCs. Why not keep it the same for their customers? So you can go either way on that, but in any case. But in thanks to Ryan for his large donation towards the Automation Museum, I wanted to pull up some of those old brochures and kind of show you what the 1750 PMC was. I believe this was the direct next release after the PDQ-2. Okay, and you can see actually the program, it looks almost identical. Maybe it is identical. But you can kind of get a good look at it there. There's no middle ground with this zoom. Let me lean over here and see if I can zoom out for a minute. Okay, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like here. And this, I would love to have this in the Automation Museum. Actually find one of these, get it working, and maybe even have people come in and do a tutorial on it, kind of go over the history on it. I just think this would be so much fun. And not just Allen Bradley, all the different vendors. But in any case, PMC stands for Programmable Matrix Controller, but right on the front of the unit it says Programmable Controller. So the matrix may have referred to the solid state memory that they were using for the first time. I don't know. I'm going to be honest with you. I did not read this complete thing cover to cover. I think it's 12 or 14 pages before this morning's show. But in any case, you can see some of this here. If you're interested, you can pause. I do not have an article on this. I'd love to do one though. But in any case, it's very, very similar to the PDQ-2 and really honestly the PLCs we have today, but it's just old. And let me show you a couple more screens here. And when I scanned these, I made sure I scanned them high, very, very high details so that we could really zoom in on them. But in any case, so you can see the ladder program on the top right, and then you can see the instructions. This is how you would code it. Again, you weren't drawing it physically. You were typing it in, kind of like how you would type in if you were editing a RONG in RS Logix or Studio 5000, how you can go in there and type on it. That's how you would do it here. So you can see XIC, XIC, BRT, that's branch, right? And then XIC, XOE, right? That's asking, and so you couldn't do an XIC on an output, which is interesting, right? Because now we can examine an output state, but they had separate instructions. They had the XOE that examined if an output was energized. And then here, they're using a set, okay? So I wonder if you need a reset. The set command today, of course, you need a reset for it. Today, we call that latch and unlatch, right? And yeah, so this set, just reading that quickly, it looks like it's an OTE equivalent. So very interesting stuff there. And then we come over here. This is a kind of a picture of what it looks like. And I believe these programmers look so similar to the ones for the PDQ-2. But you can see they're programming an EEPROM here and putting in the memory board. 1750, I can't read that. It looks like a BD. But in any case, just to give you an idea what it would look like. So we'd like to get one of these in the school. I did it again, in the museum. And if we can raise that money for the fundraiser, right? We can at least get the 5013C open. And what I want to do is every week, I want to cover some of the old stuff. I have actually 4 things queued up that people have sent in. I have one of those device net meter thingies. I have a PMC K card. I have a old. I think I've shown it on the show before. I think it's an old Square D PLC demo case, which is really heavy and big, but it's kicking around here under a table somewhere. And so every week I'll try to go over one of those with you to talk about the Automation Museum. And if you do have a couple of dollars extra and you want to kick it towards it, we'd love to get this off the ground so it can be a nonprofit, and then we can go after some of the big guys to fund maybe exhibits in an actual building that you could visit. But in any case, from there, I just want to talk a minute about membership. So I want to thank all our members. This membership starts at $5 a month and unlocks a huge library of our previous shows. And that's important because, we had shows out there where we made maybe $25, but the vendor got 30,000 views, right? And so that's what I call a win-lose. They won, we lost. And so we had to go to the membership model because there was no way to keep the company going or even keep the automationblog.com online without having some type of funding, right? And so we still would like to have sponsored content so you guys don't have to be a member and you get to see it for free. But for that stuff that I want to do that there's no sponsor available, that's where the membership comes in. It starts at $5 a month. And I did want to talk, I am doing a new membership video today. I've been using CodeSys and I ran into a real issue. And nobody can answer it except for one guy on LinkedIn. And so I want to show you what that is. We'll do that for members. Even if you're not a CodeSys user, I think you'll find it very interesting. And maybe it'll determine whether you want to use CodeSys or not. Who knows? But in any case, don't want to give it away. I do want to say that level 3 members, I just want to point out that I was hanging out every Wednesday night there. As spring came, everybody got busy, nobody was stopping by. So now here's the Discord links. If you're a member at YouTube or a member at the Automation blog, you'll automatically get access to the level 3 area. And you can schedule some one-on-one with me. So that $25 a month, if you're not a student in my courses and you want to jump in, now it is kind of like a public forum, so 2 people could jump in at the same time. But you can actually schedule a time to meet me up there instead of me hanging out there and it being a time that doesn't work for anybody. So I think that's very cool, and you'll find those links up at Discord. Anybody can join the Discord. It's just how much you will see. Like if you want to ask a Q&A question, I'm not going to do that for people who just show up for free because you can just post that on the Automation blog or YouTube. But in any case, I just wanted to share that with you. And again, that helps us pay the server bills. Doesn't help pay any salaries, but it helps pay the server bills. With that said, I want to switch over to what's new in the automation school. And you guys may not have realized it, but I updated the site recently. It took really more than a couple of weeks to get this done. A lot of legacy stuff that had to be changed. There's still things I want to do to it. But in any case, I want to just mention that this afternoon, before I leave for the weekend, I will be moving the server. I will be pointing the domain to a new server, if all goes well. I pray it does. And so if you are a student at the automation school, you may have to log out and log in because it's actually a different server, and you may have to clear your cache, okay? I haven't experienced that, but I know certain browsers do certain things, so with the cookies and whatnot. So just a PSA there for any students. Now, also for students, I wanted to mention just a reminder that you get. Okay, so now I got to manually zoom back in. Let's see, 80, 90, 100. Okay. So if you're in any of my PLC courses, you get this application free. You just have to fill out a little form. The form basically says that you understand this is for you because you're a student and it's not freeware we're giving to the world. I'm not a millionaire. I can't make free software. But in any case, we hired a developer to make this package. And this is for the person who doesn't have a PLC, doesn't have VMware, has really no way to actually learn at home. He has a PC, a Windows 10 or 11 PC, and he wants to go through the lessons. This is not programming exactly like a Rockwell or an Allen Bradley or a CodeSys PLC, but you can, as you can see on the screen, you can go through all the lessons. We got a widget maker there, which I use in all of my courses. We have photo eyes, proxies, motors, sensors. And you can actually go through and learn, follow along with the courses, whichever PLC it is, just noting that it's going to be a little bit different. It's going to look a little different than the major PLC vendors. But this is something we hired a developer to create this, and we give away to every PLC student. I think it's one of the lessons, like 105, I think is the lesson. I made it the same lesson in every course. I actually have to renumber some of the old courses. So if you're in an older course, you'll see me update the Start Here video talking about that. But in any case, I actually found this developer because he makes an automation game that's just a blast. And I'm working in evenings to develop a course on that. So I actually pre-bought, I think, 25 to 50 keys, and I'll be giving those away at a very discounted price, a highly discounted price, when I finish that course. So in any case, I think the cost is going to be like $15, but if you want the game, it'll be $20. So you're basically getting a $15 game for $5. But in any case, it has all kinds of cool stuff like this, but and it has a lot of 3D stuff in it as well. Great for anybody who wants to learn automation. Maybe you want to work with a youngster and teach them what real automation is like. It's a lot of fun, and it's very, I had fun playing it, and I'm closer to 60 than 50. So in any case, I wanted to share that with you. So this actual app you get for free when you're in my PLC courses. The other thing I wanted to talk to you about is somebody came in my my Factory I/O course. I've done a lot of videos on Factory I/O, so I won't go through that again. But somebody said, hey, Sean, can we solve the queue of item things using a FIFO? And I'm like, that sounds like fun. It's going to be more complicated than using the counters, like I show them in the lesson. But I said, let's try it, see if it's fun. So I set a program, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to use the FIFO. That's for words of data, right? We want to use bit shifts. So I put together an example using bit shifts. It is still a little more complicated than the counters, but it's cool just to watch the bits come in and the bits go out. And so if you're in this course, of course, Factory I/O is free for 30 days, then it's $17 a month. But in any case, this course is only $50. The actual, if you wanted to do it with the Micro 800, the simulator, Micro 800 simulator is free. The Micro 800 programming software is free, and I only priced the course at $25 because the cost to me to actually make that the cost to me to actually make that course is a lot less because I don't have the expensive hardware requirements and whatnot. Now, I do want to point out, if you're like, what are you talking about? There are some free sample lessons where I cover what you need, what you have to make everything work. But in any case, I wanted to come down here and show you that this new lesson, 505, of course, I'm getting the big, you can't open it because I'm not logged in. I'm not registered in the course, but that's the lesson 505 is the queue using bit shifts lesson. I think you guys will really enjoy it. And I actually have some other stuff coming out for people in my other lessons, so I'm going to hold off on that, but probably next week I'll come back and have some exciting stuff for people in my PLC classes that you guys can get access to, even though some of these, and I am updating all the lessons and all the courses, but I'm going to keep the old ones around for you guys who are already enrolled in them and keep updating them. So in any case, the other thing I want to talk to you about, if you're not aware, I know a lot of people say, Sean, online training is great, but I need hands-on. We do something that you guys may not be aware of, and I think you've seen in my other videos, the training room, we can do up to 4 compact logics or up to 4 Siemens right now. We have the room to do 8. We have the equipment to do 8. It's more of a thing of computers and licenses. But in any case, if you have 2 or 3 people, we can do a course just for you. The thing we're doing here is, it's one or twofold. If you've never enrolled in my online courses, if you come here for insight for in-person training here in the Berkshires, I'm going to give you the associated online course at no charge. So this way you can, after you've done the hands-on, you can go home and finish the online course. Maybe you don't get to some things here when you're doing hands-on that, especially theory stuff, you may want to do that after the fact. So in any case, if you're already enrolled in the online course, then you can take the price of that course off the price of coming here to do training. Now, because I'm not a big corporation like Rockwell, I have not put out a series of dates yet. And what I'm looking for is to get people to sign up here with the, it's kind of like let me know when the next class is. And if you do pre-register for a course, right, you will get, if you do end up coming, you'll get $50 off the price of doing the in-person training. So think of it as, instead of paying $4.99, you get $4.49. And the other thing I wanted to mention here, now I got all kinds of pictures, all kinds of information. I got pictures of the building, the facility. I got pictures of the training room set up for both Rockwell and Allen Bradley. But I also have all the hotels that are local. Just within 3 miles, we have all the big hotels like Courtyard by Marriott. We have Hilton Garden Inn. We have Hilton Inn Express. We have Hampton Inn and Suites, all within 3 miles of my office. We also have a museum. We have a couple of great places to go with the kids, like to do zip lining, or, you can see here, that's Jiminy Peak. And then, of course, we have right down the street, right next to my house, we have Mount Greylock and the Appalachian Trail. So if you want to do hiking, and then about 10 minutes south of us, maybe 15, we have the Norman and Rockwell Museum. All that's listed here. So if you want your family to drop you off and they go have fun, there's things to do. And the other thing, I was just telling somebody this who I did a WebEx with, or WebEx, I was going to say Zoom, a Teams meeting with the other day. We can do custom courses as well. So you guys know all the hardware I have. And so if you wanted to do 1 day of Siemens and 1 day of Rockwell, we can do that, right? If you have some guys in your electrical shop or maybe some maintenance technicians and you want to get them up on both because you have both, you want to get them up on speed on both, you can see here, this is a list of everything I can do. We can, I also tell people too, is if you want to just do like half a day, on the first day because you want to drive in, that's cool. What do I care? We can start at, 1 p.m. Eastern, and then we could end at 12 noon on the last day you're here. So in any case, I did want to share that with you guys. And with that, I just want to throw out a reminder. I know it's summertime, but if you guys are looking to train your people, right, please get in contact with me. You can email me. You can call my voicemail. You can submit a question right on the website. You can even book a 15-minute meeting with me to ask questions about enrolling your people. But, every summer my wife's like, you have a hard time relaxing on vacation. And it's like, because in the summer, it's like people forget they need to train their people. They're thinking about vacation and beaches and sun. And so in any case, if you have anybody you need to train, maybe you've been procrastinating since the beginning of the year, you get some money, you don't want it to run out, contact me directly. And we can talk about what I can do for you, whether it's online, group enrollment. We do that. I got a big note here about it. We do group enrollment online. We can also do just a custom course for your guys. If you want to do a closed course just for your people, we can do that. I've done those both on Rockwell and Siemens multiple times, multiple days. And, if you don't want to be in a group of random people, but if you just want to learn yourself, just click on this in-person hands-on and you can sign up, pre-register. There's no requirement to actually come and pay. But if you really are interested in coming, you can pre-register. And then if one of the dates I release works for you, then you'll save $50. Or if you already own the online course, you'll save the price of that course, up to $200. Also, if you're on YouTube or theautomationblog.com, but you're not a member, you're actually missing out on quite a bunch of videos and articles I'm doing. So consider being a member for just $5 a month. If you haven't heard me said before, ads like this from AdSense, pennies a week. And so it's just not sustainable without a membership. So, and I have a ton of new membership stuff coming out in the fall, God willing. Just so many great ideas. Actually, a brand new refactored site that's designed just for, the people who need the free stuff and then the people who want the rich membership stuff. So working on that. But the other things I mentioned, it's kind of have higher priority as far as after hours. So I should be back next week. I am on vacation the following week, but I should be back next week with some more news, both at the Automation blog and at the Automation School. And of course, you guys know how to contact me by now. So with that, I just want to wish you guys all an awesome weekend and week ahead. I want to wish you all good health and happiness. And until next time, my friends, peace.